A very good evening to everyone. Myself, Ms. Indrakshi Bhattacharya from the Journal and Publications Department, welcome you all to the webinar on the topic Forensic Audit, a Step Ahead. And we are really honored and privileged to have with us as resource person today, C.S. Nehal Kamdar, sir. He is an insolvency professional. We welcome you, sir. This is just to inform that our chairman, sir, CMA Harshat Shamkant Deshpande, he is the chairman, Journal and Publications Committee, ICMAI. He will not be able to join today due to his mother's demise yesterday, but he has sent his best wishes for the program. From the institute, we also have with us our HOD madam, CMA Shucharita Chakraborty madam. She is the additional director and HOD of the Journal and Publications. We welcome you, madam. And we also have with us our journal team members also. So we welcome all of you. So just before we start, we are playing the institute anthem, and then we will continue with the program.
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय
मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति।
Now I would have the privilege of introducing our speaker, C.S. Nehal Arvind Kamdar, sir. He is a practicing chartered accountant. He is a BCom, FCA, DISA, ICI, DBM, forensic audit, insolvency professional. He has a debt of more than rupees 5,000 crore in the last decade. He is the founder, managing trustee of Insolvency Professional Foundation, IP Foundation. He has consented to act as IRP in 15 matters, of which 10 matters settled before admission in NCLT. He is appointed as the professional expert director in one of the cooperative bank. He is also in the IMC Economic Policy Committee, ICSI, IP Advisory Committee, ICAI, IPS Research Committee, and was the past convener of Andheri Waste CPE Study Circle of WIRC. He has been actively participating in WIRC activities and has been speaker on various forums. He is also presently a co-opted member in WIRC Insolvency Court Committee, and previously he was co-opted member in Company Law Committee. He was a special invitee to Central Council subgroup of insolvency. He is the advisor to the board of Messrs. Mercrise Consultants Private Limited, a company incorporated in 2004, and he is working as an enforcement agent under SARFAESI Act 2002. So it's really an honor for us, sir, to have you with us today. So we welcome our speaker, C.S. Nehal Arvind Kamdar, sir, and requesting sir to give his presentation now, sir.
Thank you. Thank
you,
you
sir.
for inviting me to share my thoughts on forensic audit. In the coming days, this area of practice is going to be a huge area of practice for all professionals. So thank you, Cost Accountant Institute, for inviting me to share my thoughts on this subject. Initial days, this forensic word, was not being used. It was being used as a special audits. Like since 2007, we have been doing this audits as a special audits in 2007, we had approached in Maharashtra the Home Ministry to reach out to them to say that the EOW, which is there, they look into financial fraud, but they don't have the financial in-depth idea about how to analyze the numbers, how to read the balance sheet, how to unearth the financial frauds, if any. And thereafter, they started. Thereafter, they started the empaneling the firms who are specialized into forensic and understanding. Of late, they have come down with in Maharashtra at least with 2 sets of digital forensic empanelment and the financial forensic empanelment. So this area is of an immense scope for any professional to take this practice ahead. Uh, this as a forensic auditor, first of all, what is required is aptitude for a person, professional to understand the scenarios. Then he needs to understand the financials. He needs to know how to read the numbers, the balance sheet, and the transactions. Based on this understandings and the analytical skills that the professional has, this creates a scope for him as a forensic auditor. So normally a question arises that who can be a forensic auditor? Is there any examination required for a forensic audit, or who can be? So the answer to it that any professional who has a good knowledge and is associated affiliated to a professional body and who has the capability to analyze the numbers, unearth the fraud, and dig into the transactions and come out to a conclusions, can be a forensic auditor. So a forensic auditor, what is that the forensic auditor needs to do? So of late, somewhere in 2020-23, probably, CA Institute had come out with the standards for this forensic audit, which is one of its kind till date. So these forensic standards are the key material probably if anyone is looking into at this point of time to enter into this area of practice, because this can be their background material. How to go about reporting, how to go about auditing, how to get the engagement done, and follow the process. The standards issued are mandatory for a chartered accountant. For non-chartered accountant, they are not mandatory but recommendatory, and it would be a good governance practice to follow for all the professionals who want to do this. So today's session in 1 hour, what we will try to discuss is how this process goes, some oversight of the process of the forensic, what type of assignments gets discussed in the forensic, and how do you do forensic. So using of technology is one of the area that in forensics that can be done. So there are casewares which can be used for the getting the analytics out of the data that you have. So forensic means finding a fraud probably. Forensic means to get into data which has been given to you and dig out to achieve a certain object for which you are appointed. So who goes for the forensic? Let's assume a company managed by a professionals. Okay. And that is so in the professionally managed company, shareholders are separate, management is separate. And there the shareholders feels that something wrong is going on in the management and they want to get the forensic content. Let's assume another scenario where management basically consists of 2 brothers and one brother has an allegation on the other that the funds have been siphoned off or some areas of are loopholes in the practice. So under Companies Act, they have been given the powers of operation and mismanagement. and for operation and mismanagement matter, when it is being fought at NCLT, the report of a forensic auditor unearthing the irregularities in the companies will be of a help to them. So the wherever basically there is an issue in the books of accounts, forensic auditor's role comes into play. The forensic auditors basically what he does. So if anyone is appointed as a forensic auditor, what is his key transaction or what is his first role to do? So he or she what has to do is first of all understand what he is appointed for, he or she is appointed for. The object of the appointment is very important for any forensic auditor to do the forensic audit, because that object, the whole process that he will follow to identify or to look into the transaction will with the object for which it is appointed. So a forensic auditor, while he is getting engaged with by his client to do the work, the first thing that he has to do is define the object that the appointment by the client. Uh, because that helps him to work on the transaction clearly. Once the object is clear, what he has to understand is he has to understand the company's history, the industry. He should have an idea background of the industry. He should have the standard practices of the businesses that are operating in that industry. He should be aware. If he's not aware, he should try to collect the data on that points, which will help him to actually analyze the numbers and to come to a conclusion on where the irregularities are there. So, as a forensic auditor, the key part that he has to do is first is to understand these things, because the whole thing goes for a toss if the reports are not made in that lines. So a reader of a report should have a clarity on what the forensic auditor is reporting. Many times it is observed that the reports are unconclusive, reports are with all types of conditions. So that all conditions or the unconclusiveness in report, that also is a key for reporting the reports, which it is not that once you are appointed as a forensic auditor, you have to say yes, fraud is there, or you have to say no, fraud is not there. There can be an alternative, because what you do is from the resources or the data that has been provided, you have to come out to a conclusion. So there may be a situation where there is a lack of data availability or at your end, where after looking into the facts and the documents produced, you may not be in the position to conclude. So when that's the scenario, your report should cover that component very clearly. So all these things, when the standards which are there issued by a CA institute comes to a foray and they give a clarity on how the process needs to be done. So a report so covering letter is the key part of the report, followed by a table of content, executive summary. So a report may be a bulky report, but an executive summary gives you a clarity on how and what is the key part of the whole report. So if you are appointed as a transaction auditor, transaction audit is a part of a forensic audit. Forensic audit is a larger term. Transaction audit is a specific terms because it comes under insolvency and bankruptcy code. So in case you are a part of a transaction audit and you are reporting on the PUFE transaction under transaction audit reports, then you need to be very specific there. So executive summary gives you a summary of what you have concluded on the transactions. Thereafter, it should be followed by a title and address and address and distribution list, followed by the scopes and objective of the engagement, because this is the key part of your thing. Your report should be on the scope of the objective scope and the objectives for which you are engaged. Many a times while reporting, you find the reports beyond the scope. Now, if anything is given beyond the scope of work, that that is when it is brought into the code, maybe a challengeable thing. So, as an auditor, during the process, you are extending your scope of work. Uh, sorry. I would recommend from our experience that you go for increasing the scope of work at that time itself. So get connected to the client, reach out to them, tell them that this was the scope defined for the work. While doing the transaction, you are of the view that your scope should be enhanced to cover this aspect to give a conclusive report, based on which the additional execution of the engagement, additional scope needs to be taken into record, and thereafter the report should cover that additional area of things. And the post this, the one has to create a excuse me, I'm having a bad throat. Uh, so yeah. So approach and the broad work procedures should be what identified by the auditor and produced in the report. He should also try to put a reference of the use of experts, if any, while doing the reporting. So in one of the matter where we were appointed to do certain forensic part of it, we had to get a handwriting expert report done. So to confirm whether the signatures were originally of that person or of someone else. So there are handwriting experts whose reports can be produced as evidence in the courtroom. So if you are referring in your report that there is a fraud signature that has been done, and based on that the documentation's contract has been entered or anything such sort of things, that you are relying on this expert report also needs to be clearly mentioned, and the experts details needs to be very clearly mentioned in your report. So there are the standards that which has come out, which gives you a clarity on all these things. In all, there are 20 standards which have been laid down. So it is given in 100 to 500 series, 20 standards. So there are four standards which gives you a key concepts, which clears the key concepts for this forensic audits. There are 5 standards for engagement management. There are 6 standards for executing assignments, 3 standards for specialized areas, and 1 standard each for reporting and quality control. These things helps the auditor to actually, while doing the work, forensic audit, plan and document his work in a proper manner. So, as I said, that these are not mandatory for all, only mandatory for a chartered accountant post 1st July 2023. This can be utilized by all, as no other standards at this point of time prevails in so in view of this, this is the standards which normally most of the forensic auditors are using. So based on that and our experience, that this helps you in properly documenting your work. So whenever your reports, because forensic reports when are called for are taken as a evidence, even the auditor will have to go and give their statement on oath in the courtrooms. And at that time, the certain queries or certain questions from the judges are to be answered. So this documentation, if the process is followed and all the documents are kept along, will help the auditor to answer. So while doing the audits, what is the key? What type of issues that one gets to see in normal cases? So like most of us here attending this session are aware of large GST frauds, which is a circular trading where goods are not moved from one place to another, but yes, the billing is done. So the turnover in the company is there. Data keeps on increasing because of the turnover. Data and simultaneously maybe a creditors because purchase and sale are only through book entries. So while doing an analysis or when you are confronting a audit of a forensic and you have to see on this working capital part, then you will be required to look into these things. So as a thumb rule, normally when we are training our teams, we give them these pointers. Stock piling up on a regular basis, stock amount basically remaining the same, items being changed. So if I am getting a monthly stock statement with different numbers, then same numbers but items being changed, then there is a problem. There may be a problem of change of names, keeping the items intact. So one needs to look in detail. Once we were doing a audit of a stock, and it happened so that while doing that audit, we were taken to a go down. Okay. So what I'm trying to share is this forensic audit does not limit yourself to just numbers. So as I was saying that when it was for a stock audit, when we went to the go down, okay, the go down, we found out that while just stocks were verified by one of the team members, actual count was being taken. We found that 4 registers being maintained, and all the 4 registers had the same goods. And we also found out that these 4 registers have different names. So X company, if audit is to be done, again the same goods is shown. Y company, same goods is being shown. Z company, same goods is shown. And while doing the audit, we were able to unearth this fraud because of the vigilance of the team members, where they observed that the registers are being maintained for the same stock. So one way is to find the thing is through observers. Secondly, what they did was they interviewed the people. Now, normally in the godown keeper or a security guards are not a trained people who they don't know anything. So when the team inquired about the things, they said, okay, any goods that comes is reported in all the 4 register. Any goods that goes is reported in all the 4 register. These were the red flags. So the team reported to the engagement partner that they have found certain things which is red flags according to the red flag manual that we have made for our internal purpose. And based on that, we were able to understand that there was no stock, only stock that remained was for one company, and 3 other companies were just rotating. Because at any point of time, when the audit takes place, normally all the 4 people audits never takes place. So while unearthing a stock audit, we came to a conclusion about a fraud in the stock. When we reported it to the bankers, the stock we had the stock audit was scope was enlarged, and there was a change in the scope that was dead, and I went into a forensic. While doing the forensic further of that company, the data and the creditors in the books were the same of that 3 companies who were there. That means there was also a GST fraud apart from the stock that they had done. Inflating the prices, values in the invoice, inflating the turnovers. These are all part of your fraud mechanism. Now, this is one side of the book. When you have to see other side, there may be a cases which will not limit to this. So whenever you do a forensic, you need to get into a depth of not only the transaction in the book, but also of the web that is created by the fraudster around the company to understand. To understand this point, I would like to share an example. There was a real estate company. Okay, in that the company the the sales were being made and booked. So 500 flats for understanding purpose, illustration purpose, 500 flats were sold, and the real estate brokers were appointed. Normal brokerage prevailing 2%. Here the brokerage were paid 5%. Booking of 500 flats were done by them. Okay. When flat of the value, for example, 10 lakhs. Let's take a 10 lakhs value, but 500 flats sold by doing a booking of 10,000 rupees. This 500 flats owner who had taken the flats by giving 10,000 were also made given the offer to take a loan from the associate companies, and the loans were dispersed even before the work was done. Now, this type of things while doing the forensic of this company, it came to light that there has been a web that was created. They have not actually built anything. They got a JV agreement done. So there is a landowner who has a JV who is promised that a certain percentage of the sales unit will be given to him. On that project, they got certain brokers who actually built on that. They will sell it and they will get 5% commission on that. And against that 5%, again, the thing to be given, instead of that, properties to be blocked. So property is blocked against that. Overall, the developer gave everyone on paper allotment letters of the properties, but there was no property at all. Funds were raised, collected from the flat owners and from the banks disbursed loan were all siphoned off. To give a further challenge in the process was there was also a barter done for advertisement, and the barter company also were given flats. Now, when the matter was reported to EOW on these lines, the thing that went into consideration that where are the funds that were deployed in the were to be deployed in the project went. So the channeling of that funds was done in such a manner, whatever came went out by way of expenses to the contractors, and again went out by way of expenses from the companies. So manipulating the expenses in the books of accounts was one of the key issue in that company. Now, all these expenses were booked with the proper documentation. So they had created a proper audit trial to say that these expenses were genuine in nature. But when it was further dug, basically the issuer of the invoices, when contacted, it came to a light that they had never issued the invoice. Further, when it was deliberated, it came to a light that the bank accounts were in that names were being opened in some cooperative banks and that were being operated from them. All this money were siphoned. So while doing a audit or while being appointed as the forensic auditor, one thing that a forensic auditor needs to understand is while doing the work, he needs to be very clear that how far his client wants him to dig the transactions. Apart from it, how far, what are his reporting requirements? So the auditor, when he starts working on the transaction, the clarity of his thought and clarity of the process that he has to follow is of immense importance. Going on to the further part of the thing, how this audits basically will help. So in the initial days, as I said, it was known as a special audits. That came circular under RBI in 2015, somewhere where they said these frauds, bank frauds, needs to be looked into. And the RBI circular there was after that also came in 16, 17 for the frauds in banking sector. When you look as an auditor on the forensic audit, one of the big area of practice is banking sector frauds, but it is not limited to a forensic auditor limited to this. As I said, Companies Act fraud under Companies Act is another big area. You will find most of the companies fighting having operation mismanagement matters. And this all operation mismanagement matters ultimately would be decided by the investigation report of the forensic auditor. So what is investigation report and how it differs from a forensic audit report is also one needs to understand. Investigation report means the reporting and on a particular or investigation on a particular transaction which has been asked for by you to be in to you by the client. And in forensic, basically your scope is defined that there may be a fraud and you need to find. So when it is investigation, the depth of the scrutiny and the depth of your data or the evidences goes too deep than what it is. So as I said, forensic audit is a very broad term. Transaction audit under IBC Act, IBC code, that is insolvency and bankruptcy code. There is a huge opportunity for our transaction audit where they have a specific state related things, where the statute related things, where statute gives you a guidance that what type of transaction can be reclassified and what type of transaction can be redone or the transaction can be reversed. So they have identified four sections, and under that four sections, which are normally known as perfect transaction. So PUFE means preferential, undervalued, fraudulent, and exorbitant transactions. So in that they have defined this. So under any law, if there is a guidance given that this type of transactions can be recouped, can be reversed, and you are appointed as a forensic auditor to do the forensic audit under that law, like PMLA or the PMLA Act, if you are appointed, then it is basically to dig out the funds, basically the money, where the money laundering has happened and how it has happened. So there you need to have that trial on the money laundering things, and that trial needs to be brought out under that act. So every time when you do a forensic, there is a difference of work and difference of scope, and it is not a same simultaneous same type of work. So every time you do, you will have a different job on hand. You will have to work on different case tools. So there are several casewares available, like normally used are IDEA. One of the normally used software is IDEA by most of the practitioners. Similarly, the different types of cashiers can be considered. So similarly, a different type of cashiers can be considered in this process. So while using the IDEA cashier, basically it helps you to import various data and which helps you to compare, and the audit efficiency increases. It is a very powerful tool for auditing under these things. It helps to boost the productivity and improve your risk management. And it actually have various options to integrate with various platforms that are there, and that data can be analyzed in that. So you have a smart analyzer, passports type of tools which offers different things, and under that you can use that tools to analyze. So when you are taking an assignment, which assignment requires which tools? Now, is it the question that arises, is the tools required to do forensic audit? Is it a compulsion? No. Tools will help you to fasten up your reporting process, will help you to analyze the things in a more proper manner and come to a conclusion. But it does not mean that you require this type of softwares to do the work. You can work if you are good on Excel, you can work on VLOOK and pivot tables and get the things sorted out. If you know Pythons, then you can program yourself accordingly in the case basis and create your own dashboards to get you the data out of the data that has been given to you. Your analytical skills are of utmost importance when you are doing the forensic audit. So while looking into the things, so forensic accounting, what does it covers for investigation? What does it covers, and how does this your engagement, which you are as a forensic auditor, is being done? How do you classify that? So normally, as per the standards, basically, where the breakups are given, where financial statement manipulation, asset tracing of the assets, fund diversion, anti-money laundering activities, and transactions under IBC are normally considered under the forensic accounting part. When it goes into a deeper sense than investigation, in investigation, cyber frauds comes under the investigation wing. Criminal investigation comes under that. Insurance claim. This is another big fraud area of insurance claims. An area of practice where surveyors play a role, SSR and surveyors, which is another big area of practice. That as a forensic auditor, if you are appointed to verify certain transactions of the insurance claim, that is an investigative role. There is a violation of the code of conduct, if any. There is a whistleblowing activity, if any, done by anyone. So, data breach and corruption and asset theft. So these are the key part where investigation comes into play. That means it's a very specific part and you have to dig it into the depth of it. There are certain type of forensics where, like criminal investigation, ADR, alternate dispute resolutions, expert witnesses. This comes as a supportive witness, litigation support part. So when you are taking an engagement letter, the nature of your engagement needs to be identified. Accordingly, your scope will be defined. So based on the following breakups, basically, you can decide on the engagement part of it. What are the key basic components of your framework of your audit? So basic principles for a forensic auditor needs to be that he should be independent. So I can say that it can be divided into two parts. First part attributes to the professional about his operation, and second part will be with respect to the performance of the professional. So to understand what are the key attributes of the professional required: independence, integrity and objectivity, due professional care in his work, maintaining of confidentiality, and having skill and competency. Simultaneously, with the performance of the professional that is to be analyzed, then what is that context of the situation for which he is appointed? He has to identify the primacy of truth. So forensic auditors work goes beyond the papers to understand this. And to bring these things on evidence, he has to do a lot of analysis, respecting the rights and obligations. So it is very critical for him to obtain a standpoint of view from all the parties. Merely going through the documents and just blaming on the others does not serve the purpose. The purpose is, if the queries are raised, if the red flags are raised, red flags needs to be addressed, and if a proper explanations are given, that explanation needs to be considered by him. Separating the facts from the opinion is another thing that he needs to look into. The information that he gets should not get contaminated with his personal opinions. This is a very key factor where the work of the forensic auditor comes into play, and quality and continuous improvement is required on these lines. So when you are doing this, combining this, I think 10 points where professional requirements things are there, probably your quality would increase. Quality of the work would be better. Your documentation will follow, and it will help you to create the proper impression for your client also, and give what is required or what is asked from you. So the key concepts, if you ask on this, needs to be understood is, as I said, nature of engagement, one of the key part, then fraud risk. So what is fraud risk? So the objective is to recognize fraud risk while conducting the forensic assignment. It is to identify the fraud indicators for the and prioritizing the work and assigning appropriate your skill sets and evaluation of your fraud risk to establish the extent of the emphasis required for reporting. So while doing your work, if you identified the parameters on the risk side, that this can be easily identified. Another thing, laws and regulation that needs to be understood, as I again said, that which laws are applicable and whether the compliance of the law has been done, or is there a challenge on the compliance of that law, based on which a hypothesis can be created. Hypothesis, when created, applying that hypothesis to the cases is another way of looking at a transaction. So one can have a different views for the same transaction. Like normally, we said that there is a glass of filled with water half. So some may say it's half empty, and another may say it's a half glass of water. So, but it's a two different views: empty or filled or half empty. Technically, it is a glass which is half with water. So here there can be a different hypothesis that comes out of the or the theories that may come out while you do the analysis. The theories needs to be tested with the evidences before you report on the fraud. What needs to be looked further on this is, when you are using the work of the other expert, you need to be doubly sure on the experts integrity, experts expertise on that subject, and based on that, when you are looking, then you need to pull that thing out in your report, that you as a forensic auditor may not have expertise on certain things. You have relied on a certain part to the third party. For example, gems and jewelries. If you are doing something on gems and jewelries and there is a stock of gems and jewelries, and as a cost accountant, chartered accountant, or any professional, probably we are not qualified to understand the gems and jewelry. So there may be an expert appointed to help you to say that yes, this is a diamond of so and so carat, so and so value. And when that report is being covered in your report, stating that there has been expert appointed and he has given a report that this is not a original diamond or fake diamond, and the books are showing the originality of the diamond. Now this is collaborated by us as a forensic auditor and reported. That comes, and then it will be proved in the court on this. So forensic auditor has to report that based on the analysis, what he has come out of it. He has to form his opinion. Judgments are to be taken by the courtroom. Auditor duty is to report. The While doing this, he has to properly plan and document each and everything and keep that evidence, because this will be required under the Evidence Act. It will be required under the various other acts while being referred into the courtroom. The procedure of conducting interviews to get the data is one of the key, another area apart from the numbers game that one looks into. So what happens during this process of identifying and reporting the things? Uh, as I said, that three major areas which I spoke: insolvency law, banking frauds, banking side, Companies Act. These are the three major areas where you get a assignment. And that's are the three areas where you need to dig into it, get the work done out, and look into the forensics and come out to a conclusion. When you are doing appointed as a forensic auditor, your role goes beyond the statutory auditor's role, tax auditor's role, and your role is for the particular object. I have been repeating this object because several times when the object is not clearly defined and when the reports are being called for as a evidence, there is a lot of challenges and the professionals also have to face the music out of it. So as a professional who would be looking into this forensic in days to come, you all may be interested in these assignments. So when you take up this assignment, the key things you need not forget is your engagement, and in that engagement defining your object for which you are appointed, and based on that create a process that you will be following, document it with the evidence which will help you to your client to for which he has appointed you, and also you when the matter is being called in the courtroom. uh, One question normally is asked to on this in the forums that I have addressed, where they say that is it necessary for a forensic auditor to testify the things in the courtroom? Does he get additional fees for the same? So a practical answer to this is yes. Once you have given the report, you may be called in the courtroom and you will have to testify your report. Okay. Now for the fee part, as a professional, yes, you should charge the additional fees for that work. But practically, getting these fees becomes a challenge. So if you are looking at feeling that your reports will be called for testimony in the courtroom, and you may have to go to the courtroom and testify there, and for which that your engagement letter should cover this also, and relevant cost towards this also. If that is not covered in your engagement letter, later on, all this cost may be on your head, which may prove costly affair to you. Because the courtrooms, when they call, it may not end, your testimony may not end in one hearing. You may have to go for 4, 5 hearings, maybe. And you may have to travel for that hearings also. So all this cost incurred needs to be covered in your engagement letter. So as a professional colleague of yours, basically one key point is that we all are here to do the best of the work to our knowledge, to our as per our experience, and we should also over a period learn that all this we are doing is doing professionally, where our commercial interests are also to be seen. So on this point, one needs to keep a very clear picture on the thing. One interesting analysis was there with me, where came out, one of the survey, it came out that different types of fraud schemes in the industry. So there were like inventory and financial statement fraud. Around 68% frauds have taken place in the manufacturing industry. Payroll and HR fraud, if you say that most of the time, these payroll and HR frauds are around 42% of the frauds which came into light. Around 42 are in IT and ITES companies. Inventory embezzlement fraud, again, it has been shown that 41% are in IT and ITES companies. Off book, off the book cash fraud. So 38% real estate companies have been shown. This is an interesting analysis because it gives you, when you are doing a audit forensic of any of this industry, which is the key area that is being used by a perpetrator comes to your knowledge. Accounting payable fraud, public sector firms. Revenue recognition for, again, real estate, you find majority. Account receivable frauds, now here banks and NBFC 34%. On the book cash fraud, the banks and NBFC 28%. So what is that on the book is basically evergreening of loans, what you are talking, what we normally hear. So industry survey shows that these are the sectoral things, and so these are inherent issues that are connected with it. And when you look into this, or you're appointed to find the red flags, then this helps you to understand on this red flags. So I would always suggest that whenever you are appointed to do a particular assignment on this forensic, the best part of it is you should be able to identify the issues in that industry, and accordingly, while discussing even the scope of work, throw a light on the to your client that this may be areas where for this needs to be looked into. So various type of forensic audit that conquer basically for financial theft, security frauds, bankruptcy, defaulting of debt, economic damages, M&A transactions, tax evasion frauds, corporate valuation disputes, professional negligence scheme, money laundering, privacy information, and diverse proceeding. So interesting to case that we had one where it was with respect to divorce case. Divorce was done only to evade certain payments. So the on paper divorce was there, but it was to defraud the creditors. So in that type of things, now it goes beyond the books. And when you are looking in this type of frauds, so while doing, what happens? You find a solution to it as an auditor when you are appointed as a forensic. Identifying is one area, and finding a solution to or a recourse to the issues that you have found helps you to get into a bigger assignment in this role. What are the techniques that you need to use it in the forensic while doing? Reviewing public documents and conducting background checks, conducting detailed interviews, gathering information from a trustworthy sources, analyzing evidence gathered, conducting surveillance, going undercover, analyzing the financial statements. These are the various basically forensic accounting techniques that you deploy to get the data out of it. So yes, do I continue? I think we are on the last 5 minutes, madam. So do we have
Yes, sir.
question
Yes, sir.
sessions, or
Yes, sir.
do I continue on the things?
Sir, yes, sir. We have 5 more minutes. Sir, you please carry on, sir. You please carry on.
Okay,
We can your presentation. You can conclude by 6, sir.
okay, okay.
If possible, sir. No
So
issues. No problem.
so while doing the forensic audits, what one needs to look, or what type of things that one has to take care in the forensic audit is that the exposure that you are taking under the forensic audit needs to be looked into, and based on that exposure that you are taking. So let's assume that you are appointed for a to do a forensic audit of a EPC company. And while doing a EPC company audit, what are the key things? So in one of the EPC company forensic where we started working, it was a road contractor. Okay. Now, the road contractor, when he was appointed, the scope of work is defined in the contract. So he was to dig at least 2 feet of things out, and thereafter put the concrete for 1 feet, and 1 feet he was to fill with tarmac. So total 2 feet digging. So there is a cost for digging for which the contract has been cost has been awarded. Pulling that thing out and that derby is to be thrown at other place, there is a cost that is incurred. Thereafter, filling it with the tarmac is the another cost in the contract, and thereafter the covering with the concrete was the last part of the contract. Now, all these things were done, but what was the fraud that came to a light? He was asked to dig 2 feet down to dig it. What was done was only half of it was digged. So the cost incurred by him was less, but on books it was shown high. This, how did we came to know? So this we came to know from getting a engineer along with us in our transaction, where he identified that if following things needs to be done, that so much quantities derbies will come out of the place, and to move this much derbies, the number of trucks required will be so and so, and that trucks needs this much time to move around. And all these things, what they had done was given one truck, 3 truck lorry receipts for everything. And from that truck lorry receipt, we identified that if there are only 3 trucks, then only this much derbies could have been taken out. And we have got the engineer to go one step ahead, drill at a particular place to identify whether the concrete is for 1 foot or not. So there was an engineer report giving a clearance on all the things. And then when this audit was done, forensic audit, from expense audit, we had to go to the operational part. Operational, we dug out the things. From expense audit, basically, it was very clear that yes, trucks, as per contract, everything is done. But when it was done at site, it came to a knowledge that yes, there has been a siphoning of a huge fund under the name of the contract. So while you are doing the forensic, when you go beyond and to look beyond the numbers, probably you may unearth the actually the fraud which has been smartly penetrated in the company. Another place there was in EPC, the earthing was to be done by a copper plates. So a copper thing was to be done. It was there, and after while working, it understood that if a total line to be laid of copper was of around 50 kilometers, the first 1 kilometer and last 1 kilometer copper was laid. Between there was a MS line that was laid. The work would continue. The changing this will not have, but there is a cost change. In the books, it was for copper, which is highly valued metal than the MS metal. So while doing the forensic, probably you may have to go into the depth of the transaction. You may have to go to the operational level to understand on this part whether these things happen in the things. So I explained you a transaction of a real estate fraud. I explained you a transaction on the EPC side. Coming to a manufacturing side. In one of the manufacturing unit where we did the assignment, the company was always reporting a cash loss. Okay. And while we took charge of the things where as a forensic auditor, we checked the internal controls of the company. So what we understood was that purchases were made for a larger sum and sales that happens used to be of a lower sum. Now, if there is a purchase of a larger sum and sales of a lower, then there needs to be an inventory made. So when that loophole was changed, it was like 2 trucks of raw material used to come and finished goods of 2 trucks load used to go out. But what was being done? One was recorded. And because of which there was a huge financial stress shown on the company's book. So 2 trucks which goes out for sale, one was on cash basis sold and one was actually built and sold. So this was unearthed when the internal control system was checked, when the security guards was interviewed, and most of the time the people at the lowest level in the hierarchy of the company are the best person to give you the details which you may not be able to crack with the KMPs or senior professionals. So while doing the forensic audits, my suggestion, keep your eyes open, keep something think out of the box to get the object achieved while doing the things. Yes, madam. So I think we are on time. I on
Yes,
6.
ma'am.
So questions, if any, if anyone has, I am ready to take and look into it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, yes, sir, we have received a few questions. The first question is G. Srinivasa Reddy, sir. Sir, your examples are very good. Please guide step by procedures need to be carried out from starting to end of the audit.
Sorry.
Please guide step by procedures needed to be carried out from the starting to the end of the audit.
So I'm not getting, sorry, madam.
Okay, sir. The next we can go to the next question. Sh-
Sir, is it published on the things?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is
Okay,
published.
okay.
Sir.
I
It is
will go through
published.
that then.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
any specific book or reference material would you recommend for effective conducting of audit? I said the standards are very effective to understand. There is also a site, Indian forensic site, probably to where you can go and unearth. And over a period, probably once you start working on the transaction, we all professional are equally qualified to unearth these things. But yes, on the preparation, I would always suggest that the standards are made with the intent that professional, in today's days, we professional face a lot of challenges from a regulatory part. So the standards would help each and every one of us to control that thing. Another question, what I see on this is what is the average time taken for forensic audit? It depends. So when your engagement is finalized, you can also keep a timelines on it. But yes, average time technically is depend on the work and the data. Most of the time, the forensic audit goes beyond the time is only because of the availability of data. How to get the assignment? Excellent question. How to get the assignment is basically for bank assignments, the IBA, that is Indian Banking Association, normally empanels the professionals for it. So empanelment process does, and one who are empaneled there are two types of empanelment under IBA, less than 50 crore cases and more than 50 crore cases. You get empaneled there. Thereafter, you reach out to the banks. And if you say that you are IBA empaneled, the probability of getting the work is very high. Another question is, are forensic auditors, as a forensic auditors, are we allowed to question the security and personnel? Yes. So that's what I say, that our questions needs to be, if we have to give, then our scope needs to be defined. And in your engagement letter, we need to clearly spell out that we may go to this extent questioning the peoples and all. And yes, it is allowed. There is no issue on that because you have to collect the evidence for your reporting and you need to look into that. I think I have this 7 questions in front of me only.
Yes, sir.
Any
Yes, sir.
other questions are there? No.
As of now, we have received this question, sir.
Okay.
Sir, we will upload this presentation with this recording in the YouTube channel of our institute, sir. And it's really a very nice presentation, sir. Thank you so much. So
Madam, you are muted.
now I would request CME Sucharita Chakraborty, madam. She is the additional director and HOD of our journal and publications, to give the vote of thanks.
Namaskar. We express our sincere thanks to all of you. I would like to express our sincere appreciation to our resource person, C. Snehal Kamdar sir. He provides with an in-depth understanding of forensic auditing and its growing importance in today's business environment, also role of the professionals. We are truly grateful for the time and effort you have put into preparing and sharing your knowledge with us. We express thanks to our technical team as well as our journal team. Namaskar.
Thank you all for hearing me out. Thank you, Accountant Institute, for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. And all the members who attended, I'm grateful for sparing this time to hear me out on this topic. Interesting topic, to lots to share. Tried my best to cover most of the things in this 1 hour. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So thanks to our speaker, sir. Thanks to our IT. Thanks to our department. So with this, we are closing the program for today. Thank you so much.